Well, with spring planting complete for most farmers, they continue to keep a close eye on the weather and growing season progress. And back with us, George Baird, the American Society of Farm Managers and Rural Appraisers. George, thanks for that. Thanks for being back with us. So as I was saying that, we checked with you back in April, talking about the Mid-South, just getting started with planting. How did things go?
Well, it was really kind of a tale of two seasons. Two areas, kind of the north half of Arkansas got off to a great start. A lot of progress was made, and crops really went in with no problem, very little rain delays. A little bit toward the latter part of May, but by then most of their crops were in. When you get south, the south half of Arkansas, the northeast part of Louisiana, and majority of the Mississippi Delta, it was a lot of delays. As a matter of fact, I was comparing rainfall average year to date to our normal over the last few years, and a lot of my farms that I manage in that general region are already 60 to 80% of average rainfall for the year already. So it's we saw quite a few delays for the most part in that whole southern region, but surprisingly, the crops are coming along very rapidly with all this heat.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. When we look at that much rain, how are the crops looking right now? I guess the heat really helping.
Yeah, when you look back at like the latest USDA report for the state of Arkansas, we're right in line with average, if not actually above, ahead of last year and ahead of the 5-year schedule. But I think, again, it's two different areas. North half being well above average or well above pace, and the south half slightly behind, but rapidly catching up with this heat. That's really pushed the crop over the last 3 or 4 weeks. There are a few areas that got really hammered in June with excess rainfall, some hail, and some localized flooding. But even those areas are coming out pretty good right now, considering where we are in the season.
Absolutely. George, anything that you're looking at, we look out over the, say, next 1 to 3 months, any concerns that you have or farmers have in that area?
Well, I think it's very similar to what Dennis Raymond said a few weeks ago, especially those areas where we've had extensive rainfall, that we may not have the root system that we hoped we would. So as this heat's hitting really hard, really fast, matter of fact, over the next 10 to 15 days, there's only one day where we're actually below 90 degrees during the day, and we've already seen heat indexes well over 100 over the last few weeks. So I think the crop stress is going to show up a lot earlier, a lot quicker, and so we're really going to have to stay on top of our irrigation scheduling, because once you get behind with this kind of heat, it's really hard to keep up. And then longer term, they're already predicting an overactive or record-breaking season for hurricanes. And while the Delta area is typically 5 to 7 hours from the coast, depending on where you're at, if those hurricanes move up through the Gulf and stall out with no weather system to push them off, that could bring some heavy winds and rains for several days. And so we'll need to be aware of that. Not that we can do much about it, but we can be proactive in maybe harvesting some of our crops if we can get them out, put them in grain bins and get them out the field prior to some of those. So those are kind of the big concerns that we have facing us over the next 1 to 3 months, and we'll see where all this goes. But right now, very happy with the way the crop has progressed, especially given the delays we have.
Yeah, very good advice, by the way, being proactive. You can only do so much. And, of course, our meteorologist, Tim Ross, take a look at that weather pattern. La Nina really kind of shifting things a little bit quicker than we anticipated. But, George, I thank you for joining us. Great information and wishing everybody in your region the best. George Baird with the American Society of Farm Managers and Rural Appraisers.